Many important and even beautiful things have happened in this great square, and today now ranks among them. On behalf of the whole country, I want to thank Lord and Lady Desai, Joe Johnson in my policy unit, who played a key role in bringing today about, and all those who've supported the Gandhi Statue Memorial Trust in making this magnificent sculpture possible. The image of Gandhi we see today is based on a picture of him on the steps of Downing Street in 1931. On that same visit, he also went to see King George V, arriving bare-chested in his dhoti and marching ahead with his stick. Gandhi was asked if he felt underdressed, and he replied, "The king is dressed for both of us." British sculptor Philip Jackson has done, I'm sure you'll all agree, an incredible, a magnificent job. This stunning 9-foot bronze statue is a magnificent tribute to one of the towering figures in the history of world politics. And for me, there are 3 reasons in particular why I believe this statue is so important for our country. The first is that putting Gandhi in this famous square, we are giving him an eternal home in our country. The man who turned the politically unimaginable into the politically inevitable, whose work in South Africa paved the way for Mandela, a man whose doctrine of Satyagraha became the inspiration for the civil rights movement across the world. This inspirational man worked out who he was and what he stood for right here in Britain. It was in London that as a young man that Gandhi first learnt to petition, to draft letters, to make speeches. It was here, where he was treated equally by his colleagues at the Inner Temple, that the foundations were laid for his battles against segregation and discrimination. And even years later, when he was striving for Indian independence, his respect for the people of this country shone through. If Gandhi could have lived anywhere in the world outside India, he said it would have been here in London. We should be proud of that, and we should be proud of him. Second, this statue celebrates the incredibly special friendship between the world's oldest democracy and its largest. I think of the 1.5 million Indians who do so much to make Britain the country it is today. I think of the growing trade between our nations. But I also think of the way we have both pursued Gandhi's vision of different faiths living together in harmony. We are both proud to be multiracial, multi-ethnic democracies, and we will always stand together against those who would seek to destroy the societies that we have built. Gandhi said, "You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is like an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty." Britain and India stand together for humanity. Finally, this statue celebrates the universal power of Gandhi's message. Many of his teachings remain as potent today as when he first said them. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Be the change that you want to see in the world. There are so many timeless, profound, and inspiring words of wisdom. 85 years ago this week, Gandhi led his followers on the 241-mile Salt March to Dandi. As they sang the traditional song that we've heard this morning, they asked that everyone should be blessed with real wisdom. Subko Sonmati De Bhagawan.
Well done.
I hope that as Gandhi takes up residence in this great square at the heart of our politics and our democracy, that we can all be blessed with the wisdom of Gandhi today, tomorrow, and generations to come. It is now a great pleasure on this very special day to introduce Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, Gopalkrishna, to say a few words. Thank you.
He looked rather like this 68 years ago to his assassin. He looked straight into his eyes, quite exactly like this. Gandhi was walking, of course, not standing, as he walked straight into those 3 bullets. He embraced those darts, he did, with the might of his pain for others, with the depth of his faith in God. He hugged them. He had fought for years to prevent the division of India along the lines of religion. But with that division becoming a fact, he fasted for peace amongst the 2 main peoples of India, Hindus and Muslims, and for trust between the newly independent India and newborn Pakistan, which included what is now Bangladesh. Had he lived, he would have asked to have the man who shot at him freed. He had, after all, been greatly influenced by Jesus the Christ. Gandhi had just begun to dream, to work for a new India that may or may not be rich, that may or may not be powerful, but which will be fair and just to its own poor and to the immiserated everywhere. He believed in learning from truth and from the many truths of India, the truths that make India great and the truths that have kept her small. Not running away from those truths, not papering them over or trying to prettify them. For peace and its offspring happiness can come only by acknowledging what is real. He said, the way of peace is the way to truth. Gandhi scorched by his love and he healed by his fire. We need him in India today more than we ever have. He said there was so much he had left unfinished that he would like to be reborn. But he would not want us in India to look for the reborn Gandhi. Gandhi was no loser. That would be a loser's way of doing things. And India is no loser. India finds herself from the debris of her mistakes and the ruins of her aspirations. Whenever she has been considered lost, India has been found by an astonished world and a relieved world to be the mother of her greatest son, Gautama the Buddha, in whom composure stood above turbulence. And to the genius of her immensely wise and even sagacious people of all faiths and the other great faith, faith in one's own striving hands. I have used she for India with deliberation, for that she, the woman in India, worshipped in concept, but neglected, exploited, and abused in reality so often, is the one of the scorching truths of India. The fact that London, the capital of the then imperial power, he disengaged India from, raises a statue for him, even as India has some people contemplate a temple for his assassin, shows that Gandhi's work for freedom of belief and expression succeeds in the most unbelievable ways. You were not infallible, Mohandas Gandhi. You erred often, as your wife Kasturba knew more than any other person. But you owned your errors and tried always to be better than your best. Bronzed and hearkening here in what once was your opposite ground, you will give heart to those who want a world that does not fear the bully. The bell chimes for that. The world that does not fear the bully, does not fear the bomb or the blatant lie. You will show us too, Mohandas Gandhi, that money cannot buy, nor power ever suborn the truth. On behalf of your family, which means not just your biological descendants alone, for you did not elevate family descent, but all those anywhere who experience the tyranny of bigotry and exploitation and try to resist it, I felicitate Great Britain and Her Majesty's government for creating space for this Gandhi statue on this great square. That large family celebrates the fact of his statue taking its place right beside that of his political descendant, Nelson Mandela. How many countries celebrate the life work of a man who opposed it with vehemence for more than 3 decades? Not many. But Britain does, and Britain celebrates Gandhi today because while oppose it he did, he opposed it in a cause that Britain now sees was just, and in a way the world now sees was fair. So fair as to have set an all-time example. And on behalf of all present here today, and the generations of pedestrians, young and once young, from all nationalities and customs who will come here and see the statue, I offer to Britain's sense of history congratulation, her wisdom, appreciation, and to the master sculptor of this statue, Philip Jackson, salutations.
Thank you, Gopalkrishna, a very moving tribute. Thank you to all our special guests, and thank you to you all for joining us on this very special day. We've now reached the end of formalities. It's been a great privilege to be involved. I'm sure everyone here and everyone watching on TV across the world will remember today for many, many years to come. Thank you.
I mean, inspiration to any Indian living here, anywhere in the world. It's such a prestigious, such a proud moment. I can't describe.
historic moment right now because the kind of times we are facing, the kind of situations that we have seen in Sydney, the kind of attacks that have been happening worldwide. I think Britain is sending out a big and an important message right now that the views of Gandhi are as much relevant today as they were 50 years ago or during his time in South Africa as well as during his time in India. So I think it's very important for us to go back and understand what his meaning and message of non-violence was and how it is much more relevant today in such difficult times that we are facing. And I think Britain is sending out a big message with the unveiling of a statue of a person who never held public office. So it's important for us to maybe go back, think a bit and see how we can use non-violent methods to approach the problems that we are facing worldwide today.
Pride moment today that they have unveiled the statue of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi wasn't a political leader, he was a man with humanity, with high principles, and that's why he was termed as father of nations. So he stood for his principle, his simplicity, and his principle of non-violence.
He was a simple man. He gave his entire life for his country and for his fellow Indians, and I've got something to show you here.
That's great.
This is 100 years of Gandhiji returning back from South Africa to India in 1950. 100 years, yes.
Yes.
There's another today's date, which is a very important date in Indian history, that Gandhiji is now standing with his one-term opponents, Churchill and his friend Nelson Mandela. This is another one of 100 years of returning back to India from South Africa. This is when he came to London in 1931 in the steps of Downing Street.
Long live Gandhi's legacy. We are proud to be here today.